Hello everybody, out here on a wander through the lanes of Cooper, and I thought I'd share with you some of the views and some of these pollarded willows that are prevalent in my part of Somerset, and these are quite young compared to some of the ones that I can show you, but and they haven't been chopped back in quite some while, as you can see. But some of the other ones hereabouts have been left until, well, the point of collapse almost, or in fact the point of collapse, where they have been pollarded so many times over the years, and then they possibly haven't been touched in 20 years or more, and just become so top heavy and rotten in the centre that they fall from their own weight. But they are magnificent trees. They just keep going, even when they're just, well, there's not a lot of this tree left in some ways. I mean, it's just a survivor, and it's almost like it says, I'm not going anywhere, mate. Split down the centre. Bowed and ugly, but beautiful as well. I find them very beautiful, and that's why I want to recreate some of these old pollard willows in my bonsai. Whether I ever get anything that looks quite as magnificent as some of these, probably not. But I'm going to enjoy trying, and that's what it's all about, really, enjoying yourself. Slow down, Coops. Good boy. Okay, here we have some trees that have actually been cut back this year for the first time in a long time, and you begin to see the sort of, well, the absolute opposite of what people talk about in bonsai when they talk about having a nice taper to the trunk. You have the exact opposite, total reverse taper, and they speak to me somehow of just strength and endurance, and part of the past, really, when these trees, they were cut. The word pollard means pole, or comes from pole, but they were literally cut to make poles, and long straight pieces that could be used in building, could also be used for the fire. Here's another one that's just hollow in so many places, and yet it's not going to give up. It's not going to die anytime soon. Could probably stand for another 50 years. Also this one, again, you've got that huge reverse taper, and it's just beautiful. Okay, so these were pollarded more recently, possibly last year, maybe the year before, and what you've got is a lot of thin, straight, whippy growth. It's very pliable, gets used in all sorts of things like weaving baskets or hurdles or willow fences. There's a whole tourist industry in this part of Somerset where they use these willows to make all sorts of woven items, also in the use of making living statues, things like that. So yeah, they had a lot of uses in the old days, and it was a way of cropping a tree without chopping it right down. Similar to coppicing, it was the same sort of process, except you would coppice at ground level. Pollarding was done at a higher level to stop animals such as rabbits and deers and things from eating the new shoots. So it was a more practical way of doing it, where you had livestock around. Here are a few more. Again, these have not been pollarded in quite a while. They won't be using any of these poles for what's the word? Oh, it's gone out of my head along with the breath. What's the word I'm looking for? Weaving. Yes, they won't be using any of these poles for weaving, but these sort of things would be cut down. They could be used for all sorts of things. Building construction work, building shelters for animals, wattle and daub, basic construction, that sort of thing. And as you can see, if they're not pollarded for a little while, they just become trees. They have no intention of staying short. In fact, a little bit further on, pardon the wobbliness, we have a very good example laden with mistletoe, and it's just reverted back to a normal tree. And Cooper is just thinking, what on earth is he doing? Why is he just stood there yapping away? Come on, you, let's get going. And we can go and see a few more if I don't fall on my backside. It's very muddy. Yeah, so there it is in all its glory, full of mistletoe. Once a short squat pollard, now a huge towering beast of a tree. Okay, there's a nice trilogy of old Pollard Willows here. This bit of land belongs to the Willow and Wetlands Trust. And as you can see, if I pan around, all this is fields in the summer, and then now we're here in the winter, and they've only just reopened this road because it's been flooded, so it'll be quite a while before we see any grass here again. But yeah, this isn't a lake, it's all fields. And if I pan back over to here again, that in behind is all coppiced willows, not reeds, but coppiced willows, which are used for basket weaving, etc. Okay, so fresh from our jaunt around the fields and lanes of Somerset and feeling inspired to do something with my Pollard Willows, I'll start with this one. I'm just going to make a start by clearing away some of the moss around the base of the trunk. Don't really want it rotting the bark. I'm not a fan of the aesthetic of moss. I know some people deliberately cultivate moss and go to great lengths to have moss on their trees, and I understand that it's quite important when you're showing trees that you have some nice moss and things. But as I said before, I don't show my trees except to you guys, and I just prefer not to see lots of moss all over my pots. I especially don't like it up against the trunk. As you can see, hopefully you can see, there's a dark line here at the base of the trunk where the moss was sitting, and it just keeps that part of the trunk wet the whole time, and eventually will cause it to rot. So that's got rid of most of it. I can live with some, but I'll probably do a better job of cleaning this up off camera, but you get the gist of that. So yeah, as you can see, the tree has developed very well. Only 5 branches, but I only consider it was just this little stump the last time it was out. Yeah, it's put on, in some cases some of these branches are almost 2.5, 3 feet long, so I'm going to shorten these back. Quite harsh. Just imagine this is out in the wilds of Somerset, getting a haircut. Boom. As simple as that. In theory, this tree should throw out lots of new buds from this area now, and grow a whole new head. So yeah, and this sort of stuff would be, as I said in the video, I believe, can be used for, you know, basket weaving. Thicker stuff in the, you know, in the real world could be used for upright supports for peas and beans, and even the really thick stuff could be used for supports for huts and sheds and things like that. So that's tree number 1. Okay, so here's the tree that doing in a kind of woven style. Again, with quite a lot of moss and weeds to be getting rid of. Okay, so that's cleaned that little bit of the pot up. I'm not repotting these this year. What I have got is a sucker coming up from the roots, which I had thought I would remove, but I'm now thinking I might not. I've got a dead piece here in the middle of my plat, for want of a better term. I'm going to try and excise. Let's see if we can zoom in a little. Okay, so if I can, I just want to ease that to one side, cut it back to a live portion, and just pull out the dead piece. Hopefully that'll resprout from further down. Now, you have seen in my other fusion videos, if you're a watcher of my videos, that I often use wire. In this instance I haven't, I just let the trees holding themselves together, but I'm also going to start using a bit more of this grafting tape, which is a kind of self-adhesive tape, but it's biodegradable. It will just dissolve into nothing over a period of time, and I think it will hold things in place quite nicely whilst, because obviously that's its job. Once I get it started, you can wrap it quite tightly around, almost like a roll of sellotape, and it will just hold the tree together and then biodegrade. Now I'm going to pull in this extra piece as well, and then once it has fused at the top here, it can be cut away from the bottom. So that should be a fairly simple process. This kind of self-clings a bit like cling film. So hopefully you can see what I've done there. That piece will graft onto here, fuse to that, and then this will be cut away, helping to sort of fatten up the top. So I'm going to cut back some of these pieces. This will be where my apex will be, and I'm just going to cut it back quite roughly. You know, when you're pollarding a willow out there on the levels, you're not looking for accuracy, and you know, quite often it's a very rough job that is done. You're after all harvesting a crop rather than anything else. Okay, so camera's jogged slightly, sorry. I have a bit of a gap here forming, so I'm just going to take a little bit more tape. Tempted to try and put a bit more shape into it. Yeah, let me grab some wire. Okay, so I've got some wire. I just want to put a slight bend into this. So I'll just cut off a length. This bit's going to make it a bit awkward. So I'm going to anchor that down into the soil. I can find a gap between the roots. There we go. And work with that. So slightly towards me and to the left. That's how I see it in my eye. And yeah, so just a sort of vague curve. Okay, so that's it for that one. I'm just doing a little experimentation off camera. These are just cuttings similar to, you know, these little whippy pieces that I've just taken off the other willows here. Literally all I did was put a whole bunch of these into this pot of compost and then stood the whole thing in a pot of water up to the bottom of the pot, or up to the lip of the pot rather, and they've all rooted quite spectacularly, as willows are wont to do. I did hold them in place with a piece of wire, which I'm now going to remove, and I had wrapped them vaguely round each other as well, just to try and encourage them to stay in a group. I am going to wrap this little trunk with grafting tape in exactly the same manner as I did with the other. So that's that, and then I'm going to pop that into one of the new pots that I had at Christmas, and I've chosen this rather nice blue, which I think will look nice with the yellow bark of the fresh twigs. And it's using a far more organic based mix than normal, because these are willows and they have thirsty trees, so there's a lot more organic material in here than I would for other deciduous trees. Okay. As I say, this isn't technically a repot. I haven't cut any of the roots. I have damaged them slightly. This will be given a drink and will be put in my shade house, which is, I think I showed it in my 200th video if you look back. So it's a greenhouse frame but with no glass, just shade netting, which makes quite an effective windbreak, and does give some frost protection. Okay, cutting this back. I'm not cutting it all the way back to like a single stump here at the moment. That'll come. Next time I prune this, I'll probably go back to a single stump, but I want to get this trunk fused first. Okay, so yeah, that's about it for my Pollard Willow collection today. I hope you understand why I want one. They're not conventional bonsai by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm not necessarily a totally conventional person either, so there is that. Hope you enjoyed it. So thank you for watching, and please do take care of yourselves.